Hi, I'm Pamela Davis, welcoming you once more to the Reincarnation Chronicle. And I am your local investigative transformationalist, here to invite you to delve with me into some of life's greatest questions. And we've been looking at reincarnation, which is certainly one of the big ones, one of life's really great questions. And I think certainly something that really needs to be understood better around the world, but most particularly in the West. And so we've been talking about what it is that reincarnates. We've talked a little bit about the soul and one of the stories, and there are a lot of stories of the soul's origin, and I wouldn't want to claim to have given you the only one, and we're going to go through others as we go along. But what is it that man understands as his soul? How have people translated the concept? How have they depicted it? What has been the way that they've communicated the ideas concerning soul from one culture to another, from one age to the other? And what we have to do to understand this is to look at the symbols, because humans have been thinking in terms of symbols for a very long time. There's the theory that the use of symbols may have preceded the development of language. And when we look at the ancient cave paintings in different parts, especially of course the famous caves at Lascaux in France, but in other parts of the world also, we find symbols in the rock art that is thousands of years old in the United States, and especially in the Southwest. We find the Native Americans have created symbols for the soul. The Alaskans, the Chinese in their ancient caves and on the rocks of their deserts and all over the place. So let's have a look at some of the symbols. I wish that I had the visuals to share with you for this, but we'll just talk about it. One of the symbols that recurs, and probably my favorite, is a symbol that recurs in many different cultures, and it's the symbol of the phoenix. The phoenix, and for those of you who are Harry Potter fans, I don't remember the name of the bird in Harry Potter, but that wonderful kind of flaming red bird that was in Dumbledore's office, that was supposed to be a phoenix. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what it was supposed to have looked like. But the idea of the phoenix is something that you find in many cultures around the world. You find it in Egypt, most especially, and in Arabia and in Europe, in different guises. In Japan, they called a similar kind of bird the kirin. And in Egypt, it was the Bennu bird that was the symbol of the Ka, or the soul of the human being, the bird that flew away from the body and flew on wings to the heavenly abode. Amenthi, I think it was called, in Egypt. But you've got the idea of a bird that lives, especially the phoenix, that lives for a long, long time. The phoenix lived between 500 to 600 years, according to the tale. And then it would spontaneously combust itself and consume itself in flames. And at the end of this burning, there was nothing left but ash. But in the ash, there remained one ember that was the eternal soul of the phoenix, and out of that was then regenerated very quickly the adult phoenix to live another cycle of 500 or 600 years before it repeated the same process. So the phoenix has been identified with the human soul and its regenerative capacity, and also its ability to use. The reason that it burns itself is because it's the same reason that we choose to leave this world when we die. We've accumulated enough karma, oftentimes enough negative karma, but certainly enough karma to fulfill the objectives that we came into life with. And then when we're kind of full up and there's nothing else to be done, we choose to go. Now, it doesn't always look like choice. Sometimes there are accidents or painful illnesses and things like this, but actually on another level, it's the soul that's decided, okay, we're done this time, and arranges the way that it's going to exit. Well, this is the same story of the phoenix. It consumes itself in fire at the end of that particular life cycle in order to be able to come again with newer and purer energy. So that's one of the wonderful symbols that we find around the world and over many, many centuries for the soul. And then we've got, we have another symbol that is really marvelous, the snake or the serpent. Now, the serpent is a very interesting symbol, and it has different interpretations around the world. In the Bible, of course, it's represented as the embodiment of evil and temptation, but there's a lot of examination going on right now concerning that symbolism and that interpretation, and not everybody is agreeing on this, because the serpent around the world and for thousands of years has been considered really the embodiment of wisdom and the embodiment of the earth spirit. So you've got these wonderful earth mounds around the world, especially even in the United States, in North America, in Ohio. There's a great big famous serpent mound that has ended up, I believe, incorporated in part of a golf course. But it's really, really old. And then you have many depictions of serpents. You've got the serpents on the pyramids in Teotihuacan, and serpent gods all over the world. So the serpent, being the earth spirit, being an embodiment of wisdom, has also been interpreted as being a symbol for the soul of man. But in this instance, they've added its angel wings, the spirit wings, so that you have a creature that is the unification of both the heaviness of matter and the earth energies combined with then the fiery, airy energies of heaven. And this again talks about the capacities of the human being to lift himself out of the mire of materialism and rise into the rarefied stratosphere of pure spirit and vision and understanding, visionary understanding. So that is that's kind of a short description of the snake. And you'll find, of course, dragons also and are another form of the serpent, and so on. They're all over the Orient, although they're always positive. They're not devastating, marauding dragons, and they're usually, good luck symbols and things. I don't know how much they're identified with the human soul. Then we have another marvelous symbol of the soul, which is right here behind me. This beautiful window that I sit in front of is an Egyptian design, and right here you have what's perhaps the most prominent design in all of Egyptian symbology, the scarab beetle. And over here too, this little thing here is the Ankh, or the Egyptian cross. This is a really interesting symbol. The horizontal line represents matter, and this sign represents the cycle of the spirit that rises above matter, going into the higher dimensions. Then it crosses down into matter for a material experience, and then goes back up in this endless cycle of return. So that's one of the interpretations of the Ankh. And then right here with the scarab, this is a beetle called a dung beetle, actually. Dung, you know, is manure. But this is a beetle that you find certainly throughout Egypt. I'm not quite, probably throughout Africa, maybe other places, I'm not sure, but certainly in Egypt. And this is a little creature that maybe, I don't know, they're about this big, I believe. And the mother scarab will lay her eggs in a pile of dung, and that is going to be the nourishment for the eggs when they hatch. So she will then begin with her little claws right here to form the dung into a ball, and then she begins to push it forward, and as she pushes it forward it accumulates more dung, and she continues to shape that into a ball as she pushes it forward. And finally, when the little larval beetles come out and are mature enough to literally break through the shell of the dung ball that the mother has encased them in, then they break through out into the sunlight and greet the sun god Ra, and then are ready to mature and become another generation of dung beetle that will go through this process again. So this is again a symbol of the rebirth and continuation, regeneration of the soul. And also it was in ancient Egypt a symbol of the sun, which was the sacred, there was a sacred scarab that supposedly pushed the sun across the sky down into the darkness at the end of the day, and then it re-emerged as the dung beetle emerging out of the dung the next morning at dawn. So there you have another wonderful depiction of the symbolism for the soul. So we're going to continue this in part 2, symbols of the soul, in just a moment. Don't go away. Come right back.